Here it is at last, the Helios Tarot forecast for the month, or Tarot Horoscope drawn specifically for your astrological zodiac sign. I'm B.R. Newman, in case you didn't know that already. Check out my website, IamHelios.com, through the link below, and consider everything that I have to offer there. Consider signing up to receive any number of the personal readings that I offer, or consider signing up to take a course. The choice is yours. There's a lot to explore there. Also consider checking out Annie Botticelli's Storyteller forecasts to see the astrological side of everything you're going to see here. It's fascinating, I promise. So, okay, I guess we'll just jump right into it.
So, here it is, Scorpio, your 5-card Helios spread for the month of November. This is a kind of condensed Golden Dawn spread, you may be aware of that one. That one uses 15 cards, well in this case we have 5. To the same effect, we have a central theme, 2-dimensional timeline options to choose from, a past section, and a fate section. In your central theme, you have the 5 of Cups, which is often called the card of disappointment, but the emphasis here is on the lesson learned after the disappointment, and the disappointment may in fact have already occurred. If you feel pretty clear about that, like it's already happened, then the emphasis of this entire reading is on the lesson that you are learning as the result of that, in which case this month will simply be about how best to use this raw potential energy. So this central theme, 5 of Cups, the 5s, all 5s in tarot, are associated with Spirit number 5, Gebura, on the Tree of Life, and this is known as the foundation of stringency. It's not always a pleasant experience, as implied by the nature of this card being disappointment, but of course it's with, a purpose, to teach you something. So, as manifest through water, this is the lesson learned after being let down, after something not quite working out, but then you can use that lesson, use what, your new vantage point, your new, more educated and more informed vantage point to make a better plan, build a better foundation next time around, whatever it might be. So, moving forward, you have these 2-dimensional timelines to choose from. On the one hand, you have the 4 of Cups, and on the other, you have the Lovers card, Major Arcana card, a heavy-hitting high-gravity card. So let's start with the 4 of Cups. All 4s in tarot are associated with Spirit number 4 on the Tree of Life, which is a healing force. It repairs the world, and this often is a pleasant experience. So it's actually the predecessor to the 5 of Cups, so this is sort of the way things were before the disappointment occurred, and you have this in the future, so there's a promise of a kind of remedy. That which has disappointed you will probably surprise you in one way or another to bring things back to balance. So as manifest through water, through cups, this is actually affection, devotion, and a kind of tenderness received. So that's quite promising indeed. On the other hand, you have a very similar energy, the Lover's card, which has to do with the fusion of opposites and things coming back to balance anyway. So either way, either choice here, it looks like the wrongs are getting righted. So the difference between these two is not immediately apparent, though I would say that the Lover's card is clearly the higher vibrational, the higher dimension of this same potential. So through the 4 of Cups, you have the experience of affection and devotion, and that's often from the receiving end. So this carries some energy of being dependent on another, waiting for another. If you feel like after this disappointment it's more productive for you to be action-oriented, to make a decision and actualize that decision, then the Lover's card would be for you, in which case you would activate it by consciously doing something drastically different, perhaps completely opposite to the way you usually do something. And doing so brings a kind of alchemical ingredient into the equation. By practicing your capacity to expand your mode of being into its opposite, this kind of stretching demonstrates a willingness to undergo the greatest leap of evolution that a human being can experience, which is, of course, expanding one's own capacity to the point of being capable of embodying one's opposite without abandoning any of the truth of our being at the foundational level, that which we were born with. So we can see the dichotomy is quite simple here, but the choice is really between action and inaction, actualizing and waiting. Through the 4 of Cups, you let the experience of disappointment and the lessons that ensue unfold and play out before you, and then the natural response to that is some kind of affection, some kind of devotion, some kind of acknowledgement, some kind of reward comes to you. And that sounds quite nice, but what actually might serve you more is doing something with the lesson that you have learned right now, doing something different now, demonstrating to the universe that you're capable and willing to embody something drastically different, to stretch your being, to expand your capacity to your fullest potential. And by doing so, you will actually maximize the potential, or optimize the potential here in the 10 of discs in your fate section. And so that is essentially the highest expression of Earth. This is wealth. This is the final culmination of the element of Earth's journey through the Tree of Life, as manifest fully into the world through Malkuth. And so this is the experience of inner and outer wealth, infinite resources, total security, but also the heaviness that goes with it is definitely a potential here where the wealth sort of takes on a consciousness and a will of its own. It can be likened to the paradigm through which we are made to sacrifice freedom for the sake of security. It's also the experience of having so much wealth that you're terrified to lose any of it. In the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, this is described as dragon sickness, something like that. And to temper that potential, to make sure that it doesn't get to be too much, you might want to practice actualizing the intent of your own will right now through the Lover's card by doing something drastically different rather than passively waiting for something to happen. If you do choose to wait for something to happen, something to come from the outside, through which you might be showered with affection, there's a real possibility that this could then become too much. It could reach the point of being, overwhelming in the Ten of Discs. But if you actively participate in the whole process through the Lover's card, by engaging the opportunity for an alchemical process, by stretching your capacity to do something drastically different, then you might actually have more will, have more say, have more power when the Ten of Discs does actualize in your life, and it won't be too much. You'll be able to invest wisely, you'll be able to recognize when to let go, and what is appropriate to hold on to, and so on. This is all inspired by the Four of Wands in your past section. Just like the Four of Cups, this Four of Wands is associated with the same Sphirith number 4, also known as Chesed on the Tree of Life, which is a kind of healing force, but you've already gone through that. This is in your past section, which is what makes this Four of Cups in your right-hand dimensional timeline less necessary. You've already gone through this kind of healing force, and now is probably not the best time to passively wait for something to unfold before you. The Four of Wands, or Sphirith number 4 as manifests through fire, is a balanced equilibrium, something coming to completion. So, as I had mentioned and suggested before, this Four of Cups in your right-hand dimensional timeline is sort of the return to balance before the disappointment occurred. And so we see that confirmed here through the Four of Wands, another manifestation of Chesed there. Okay, so additionally, you're quite saturated right now anyway through the Five of Cups. You don't need any more water. You have plenty of that. You've doused the fire of the Four of Wands with the disappointment, and you don't actually need to further engage and take on the element of water so as to activate Chesed again. It's time to move on. So activating the Lover's card is truly clearly the wiser choice. It's time to do something drastically different, but not dramatically different, not something that's going to shake up all of the stability that you do have. You want to maintain balance. Just exercise a capacity to do something different. And perhaps it's less about doing something different and more about doing it with a different attitude, with a different perception, with a different, a different choice. You're choosing to see things differently. And so that then changes your experience to be something completely opposite, at the very least radically different from what you usually experience, allowing you to be fully engaged, fully switched on by the time the Ten of Discs does come around, at which point the main lesson would be to let go. For example, if you find yourself surrounded by any particular kind of resource, do not be afraid to let it go, to give it away. Obviously not all of it, but, within reason. And the act of doing so should really free you up and get all of the components working in favor of not having to experience this cycle of disappointment again and again. So this should allow greater degrees of abundance to be far more consistent and far more reliable in the future. So that about wraps this up for the month. Thank you so much for listening to this and for watching. Please do consider contacting me for a personal reading of any kind. You can check out everything that I have to offer on my website, IamHelios.com. You can also sign up for a master course I have available there. Whatever you choose, we can take this incredibly far and deep. You can gain so much from our work together, as many people have already. I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks again.